Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Who wouldn't want to know how you start from nothing to becoming a millionaire? Well, my guest today has done exactly that, and his name is Tom Antion. He's never had a job. He started his business formally in 1977 while in college, and starting with nothing, he owned 5 apartment buildings, a hotel before graduating. He's not going to talk about the real estate today. He's going to talk about virtual real estate and how it made him a multimillionaire in just a few short years after developing many websites. Tom, great to have you here.
Oh, I'm thrilled, Lorna. I'm really thrilled. I think this is the first time I've done something in Ireland.
Yay!
Hey.
That's what I love about the world. It's so global. And I think, it's so accessible now to get the information, and I think that's fantastic because I wouldn't be where I am today only for my friends in the States that have helped me. So yes, love having you here. Tell us this, right? You never had a job, you're in college. How does somebody think big enough to say that I can do this?
Well, the thing is we all have these beautiful computers in our head long before there was computers we could type on or talk to. And if you get knowledge, that's where I want people to invest in. And you just alluded to it, how you're able to do business around the world now. Well, back in those days, when I first started, we weren't. It was hard enough to do business across the street, let alone around the world. So when the internet came, the commercial internet came along in 1994. I said, man, I'm going to figure this out. You mean I can sell my stuff around the world and while sitting in my basement? And so the tools we have today are just unbelievably powerful and low cost and no risk.
I think one of your ahas were in that conversation, which was, I decided I was going to figure this out. That's a key step, right?
Yes, you just have to decide because there's no barriers today. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. Virtually everybody has a computer. And this information is out there. The hardest part is narrowing it down to find out what's real and what's, not credible. But if you invest in your knowledge, the tools that we have, you can leave me a voicemail on my website. And I'll get an email and I'll hear you talking to me and I can talk back to my cell phone and it'll show up as an email to you. And it's free. Those are kind of the powerful tools that we have available to us now.
Wow, I've never heard of that. What's that?
It's called SpeakPipe, SpeakPipe. In fact, when we get done, if you have time, go over to my website, screwthecommute.com, and leave me a voicemail. It'll come to me by email. I'll respond to you by email, but you'll hear my voice talking to you. So
yeah, how much easier
totally free
being on a computer? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as somebody who hasn't had a job, you're in college, okay? You've got nothing, as we all start off in college. You decided, I'm going to do this, right?
That's correct.
You gained knowledge.
I gained knowledge from. At the time, it was books.
Yes. And then how do you go from here I am making real money?
Well, then you must take action because the people that, I think there was some study that said 98% of the people in the workforce wish they had a business, but virtually none of them take the step to do it. And in your country and my country, all over the world now, it's the easiest time in the world to start a business.
Are the two holdbacks, I'm just throwing this at you, are the two holdbacks not believing in themselves and self-worth?
I didn't hear the first part of that, Lorna.
Are the two holdbacks for people that are saying, "Oh, I want to build a business," but they don't do anything about it? Is what's going on there? They're not believing in themselves and self-worth.
It's very likely that this goes all the way back to some of the public speaking stuff I teach. That when you're a child, if your parents told you to shut up and be quiet and wipe that silly smile off your face, and you tend up to grow up as an adult feeling that what you say is not worth it, which holds you back in your career and taking entrepreneurial steps because you don't feel right from your formative years. So if you're a parent out there, you do not want to teach that to your child as a youngster, because they will grow up feeling that what they say is not important, what they do is not important. They should just be quiet and not make waves, and that kills the entrepreneurial spirit.
And how does somebody break free from that?
Well, you have to force yourself to take that first step. But the thing is what you have to realize is that first step doesn't have to be dangerous or risky. For instance, if somebody wants to start a website now, WordPress is free. They could, with no risk whatsoever, with not even telling any of their friends, they could try it in the evening when nobody's around, nobody's looking. And it wouldn't cost them it would cost almost nothing to do this. So they have to realize the risk is low. And that we call this VRE, virtual real estate, as you alluded to in the introduction.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, actually.
Yeah, that's what we're creating is virtual real estate, where they could put up a website. They don't even have to do a website. They could do
So what you mean by virtual real estate is you're talking about websites.
I'm talking about websites and other internet properties. Like a YouTube channel is a virtual real estate. It's a channel that's all you, even though it technically belongs to Google and YouTube. It's all you. Everything's about you on that channel. Your Facebook pages are virtual real estate. So it's websites, all of these entities where you can carve out your own little place in the internet. That's virtual real estate.
What about there's so much information out there about, everybody should do Facebook Live. Everybody should on YouTube. You need your social media. It gets confusing.
That's where I tell people to invest in training from somebody credible, because there are so many things. I mean, even with the big organization I have, we don't do everything. It's impossible to do everything that's available to you out there. So we basically figure out what works and then only do that, right? But as a newbie, it's hard for you to understand that. So it's best to get someone that's credible, that doesn't have a lot of complaints about them, and get some training, or buy books. I mean, books, you can buy Kindle books for pennies sometimes to start learning about these different facets. And we teach people how to make their hobbies tax deductible. That's a really good way to start, because if you're spending money on golf or archery or whatever your hobby happens to be, you could start a website about that. And so it's fun, and the risk is low because you're already doing the things, but now you can take legitimate tax deductions for it. So it's a wonderful way to start, is just based around your hobbies.
I think, though, for some people, sometimes what comes natural to us, we think everybody knows how to do it.
Yeah, that's you have to understand the things that Lorna, and you're much younger than I am, but a lot of stuff just from starting your podcast. You learned a bunch of stuff that people would pay to know how to do. I know I spent 5 or 6 months studying and buying books and taking consultations to learn how to do my podcast. So
I'll tell you this about my podcast, right? When I started my podcast, I knew absolutely nothing about podcasts. I just said, in October, I'm going to release it. And it worked out. I just figured out. And like you, I did read books. And I knew a lady. This is before this podcast. I did a love podcast, but as people can see, I've changed branding. I knew one lady that was very credible, and she, introduced me to two others, and it just snowballed after that. So, I love that you shared take the action, because that's the difference between an entrepreneur. Even though they don't know all the answers, they take the action.
That's right. And if you don't, you're technically called a dreamer, which we look down at for people that are just always dreaming about these big things, but they never do anything.
So what about, right, if somebody's earning, I don't know, 2,000 a month or 20,000 a year to 1 million, like, for some people to get their head around that is very difficult.
Well, yes, and it should be. It should be a long-term goal, but the thing is that those long-term things create a lot of dreamers, because you just don't jump from 20,000 a year to 1 million. When I first started, I didn't make anything for the first 2 years because there wasn't any good training in those days when I first started, because it was everything was new. But as soon as I got good training, I started making $50 a week, and then 100, and then 500, and over time, and then 1,000, and then regularly 30,000 a week. And nowadays, so it doesn't jump all the way to 1 million. But I'll tell you what, a lot of my students they can't wait to tell me when that first dollar came in over the internet. And that's where you start. You start with that first dollar, and then you keep building on it. And my goal is to get it so that it's too expensive. Think about this, Lorna. It's too expensive for you to go to work anymore, because the time you put into your business is way more than you could make going to work. But it doesn't happen overnight. You got to build to it. But those are the people that make it, to the ones that don't require instant gratification and get rich quick stuff. The ones that make it are the ones that are going to play it out and build a nice, strong business, and then they get to enjoy all the great things of it.
Yeah, I heard another lady talk about, she was a millionaire, and she was talking about how it's quite boring, my business. All I do is build the steps. And it's the same, I'm not saying everything's boring, but a marriage, anything, there's highs and lows. There's doing the grind every day. And I think people don't realize that. I think there's a really good quote. What is it? About work is putting on overalls. I can't think of the quote. It's very good. But it's basically about, showing up every day.
Yeah, it's nothing I do is fancy. Nothing I do is really that hard. There's just a lot of it, the things that I had to learn. And for instance, I could pay someone $1,500 to $10,000 to write a sales letter for me. Well, I said, no. I mean, if I did that, I get one sales letter that may or may not work. And then I still don't know how to write a sales letter that I need lots of them over time. So I said, I'm going to take the time and learn how to write sales copy. And now I've saved myself hundreds of thousands of dollars and made millions of dollars because I know how to write sales copy. I got that skill, which again is not that hard, but you have to take the time to build your skill set. And then you don't have to make as much money gross to be able to make a good profit.
Love it. So, okay. So knowledge, deciding, understanding there's no barriers, taking action, force yourself.
Tax deductible. Don't forget that one.
Tax deductible, invest in training.
I got another really important one once you get going just a little bit. And I call it recruiting geeks or propeller heads. Those are words we describe for technical people that are mostly young people that are very tech savvy. So back in 1997, which was only 3 years after I started selling on the internet, I recruited my first young person that was highly tech savvy. And he could do something in 2 minutes that would take me 2 days to even start to understand. And he was very low cost because these can be high school kids, literally high school kids. And that will really accelerate your success because you can concentrate on the knowledge that you need to get and then have the young person implementing the things for you. Even if you're still at work, that young person can be doing a little bit every day to keep your business going for you. And wow, that will accelerate everything like crazy.
Because you're putting your energy on the profit or on you gaining the skills to bring it to the next level, right?
Right. And the young person is implementing, and they're thrilled to death, Lorna, that they're not cutting grass or flipping burgers at McDonald's. So it's a perfect thing that they get to love working with computers, and you get the a low price labor that loves what they're doing. So it's a beautiful situation.
And would you say, any books I've ever read on people who make big money is it can be any industry, right?
Just about any industry, sure, yeah. But
are some better than others?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, Lorna, I am thrilled to death if someone opens an ice cream shop that I can go to and buy some ice cream, or they open a sporting goods store and I can go buy a baseball. But would I ever in a million years teach my students to do that? Absolutely not. Because it's my job to keep them low risk, high returns. And to open up any kind of physical store takes enormous amounts of money. I mean, you have to lease properties, and you have to buy inventory, and you have to have be there certain hours and all of those things. And I am thrilled that other people do it. All right. But I don't want my students to do it, because if you have a computer, I mean, you could basically do it on a cell phone if you had to, but a computer's better because the screen's bigger. It's a little bit easier, but you could create intellectual property in the form of digital products. And you have virtually no cost and high returns from these. And it's just, and people buy them like crazy. These are how-to products, like how to be an archery expert, or how to teach your kid how to play soccer. All of these things people are spending money on. And even if the information is free on the internet, Lorna, people are lazy. So
I agree.
They pay you to put it all in one place for them.
Right? I agree. Yeah. Like, maybe I shouldn't be saying this. If you, the problem for most people is self-discipline. I remember, and maybe I shouldn't be saying, I remember when I was a love coach, right? And I remember I didn't have the funds at the very beginning to get my own love coach. I mean, I really struggled with love. I self-taught a lot of it off YouTube.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
most people don't have the discipline to go, do you know what? Our sales page, copyright. If you have the self-discipline, you'd be surprised what you will learn.
What you will learn and what other people will pay you for. Because if you took the time to learn copywriting, you use it for your own business, but other people too lazy to do it will pay you enormous amounts of money. Sometimes they give you a percentage of their profits off of the sales letter. So that's just one skill that anybody on here could get. And when I hear people say, well, I'm not a good writer, literally, and I'm not being facetious here, you can almost be brain dead and be a writer nowadays. Because all you have to do is get your thoughts down, and then there's editors that will make you look like a genius. And I even have a friend here in the United States. She wrote a book, Lorna, called "What Men Know About Women." You ever heard this book?
Yes, I think I have.
Yeah, it's all blank inside. The whole book is blank, and she sold millions and millions of copies of this book. So. I even have a method. You want to hear a method where you can create a quality book on a topic and know nothing about the topic?
Yeah.
Hear? Okay. Do you know what a forum or discussion board is?
Yes.
Okay, that's where people go and discuss specific topics. So I was on a plane, first class one time from Los Angeles back to Virginia, and I'm sitting next to a guy in his mid-40s, and in the seat pocket, he had a bunch of go-kart magazines. And I said, hey, what's all with the magazines? And he lit up. He said, oh, man, me and my kids race them. And I said, well, how much does one cost? And he said, oh, you can't get a piece of junk for $10,000. And he said, ours are about $30,000 a piece. I'm thinking, $30,000 for a go-kart? Are you kidding me? He said, yeah, we got 3 of them. My kids, we race them and we haul them around. He's got a couple $100,000 tied up in a big truck to pull them and all this stuff. So if you wanted to write a book on how to buy your first racing go-kart, what you would do is go to a racing go-kart discussion board where all they're doing is talking about racing go-karts. You would look for the people that have made the most comments, and you would approach them and say, hey, I'm writing a book on how to buy your first racing go-kart, and I'd like to interview you. How many people do you think would turn you down?
Very little.
Nobody. That's all they do all day is talk about racing go-karts. How much would they charge you for the interview?
Nothing.
Nothing. Who would help promote the book because they're so proud of being in it?
The guy with the expertise.
Exactly.
And probably the following, etc.
And then who gets all the money?
You do if you do it wise enough.
That's the thing. See? So you don't have to know a thing about racing go-karts, but you could create a quality book by a bunch of experts on racing go-karts, compile it, have it edited, and have your own piece of intellectual property. See, the problem, Lorna, is most people in their life, they work and then get paid, work and then get paid, work and get paid. Well, I teach work, get paid. And that's because you created this piece of intellectual property, which you can keep, you can leave it to your children, when you die. I mean, it's stuff that you own, but you work once and sell it over and over and over and over again. Now, I didn't say you instantly get paid, and you leave out the word work. You do have to do this. You have to take action, do the work, and then get paid over and over. So I have, I think, 18 books to my credit, hundreds of different information products that I worked once, and then unless they need updated, they sell. I had one selling for 24 years now. Okay. So that's the way you get wealthy. That's the way you become a millionaire, is by not work, get paid, work, get paid. It's very difficult for you to get ahead that way. But if you work and then it multiplies, keeps multiplying, that's how you can go from nothing to being a millionaire.
This makes so much sense. But do we make coming up with the info product tricky? Like, some people are selling their stuff and some people are not. Why is that?
Well, for instance, I have a free ebook that's made me $3.5 million so far. And you say, Tom, that sounds like you're just making that up. No, let me tell you how that works. So I wrote an ebook at 4 hours layover at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. I'm laying over at the airport. I write this book on how to pick a shopping cart system for your website. And the thing is I showed all these things you can do with a good shopping cart system. But guess what, Lorna? You can't do it unless you buy the shopping cart system. And I get an affiliate commission off of it. So I give that book away like crazy, because the more people that get the book, everyone that gets the shopping cart, I make $600 per year, and they never get rid of it because it's really good. See what I mean? So in that case, you gave away stuff and you get money on the back end. But many of my other products, you purchase up front. And usually one product will lead to another product, will lead to another product, all of them giving good value. Because if you just put a crappy product out, people won't trust you anymore. So you always give great value in each product, but each product can lead to another product. So that's how I've been doing it. Just rinse and repeat, like it says on the shampoo bottle, over and over again.
Rinse and repeat. Love it. Tom, this has been an amazing conversation. So tell me this, Tom. Anyone listening to this, they're inspired by your story. I think you've given amazing content here. And they're looking to do what you did. What's that one thing you'd tell them?
Well, the one thing would be to take action. Get some knowledge and take action on it. Keep the costs low, and then you'll learn from your mistakes. Even if you mess up, that's as long as there wasn't a lot of money involved, that's how you learn. So take action, get some knowledge, and keep the cost very low.
Thank you, Tom. This has been amazing. How do I find out more about you?
Well, we'll have a link in the show notes to all the stuff I have, and I'll have a nice host page over on my website for you. I have a podcast called ScrewTheCommute.com, so they can sign up at iTunes or their favorite place. But definitely go to the show notes, and I'll have a bunch of links to things for you.
Yeah, and he also shares how to be in front of 1 million warm prospects in 90 days, free audio file. So check that out.
Yeah, you can get that for free. And that's, again, it sounds crazy, but I'll show you exactly how to do it.
If you enjoy this podcast, I'd love for you to head over to the Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group. Here you can meet like-minded, wealthy people on their way to financial freedom. Thank you, Tom, for being here.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.